Model steam engine live steam tests. This is part 19. A coal-fired steam test of a newly rebuilt old Chub type 5-inch gauge tank engine that did not go as planned. My favourite Stuart 5A steaming in the garden, driving a Showman's engine at the steam workshop, plus bench running a Great Western Railway 14XX model locomotive. It's time to build the fire up and light it. I'm using charcoal soaked in paraffin. You can use small pieces of wood for lighting the fire, but it still needs to be soaked in some sort of combustible liquid. At this stage, I'd just like to say, whatever you do, do not use gasoline, or as we call it in England, petrol. Paraffin or kerosene is ideal. In this initial steam test, I'm aiming for a small covering of charcoal all over the fire grate, and the charcoal itself may be enough to raise the temperature and boil the water to give me sufficient pressure to test everything. What I'm not going to do is fill the firebox up right to the top and get a raging inferno in there, because don't forget, this engine is not fitted with a hand pump. The last shovelful of this charcoal and paraffin mixture is lit. Just to avoid confusion and people not knowing what I'm talking about, the blower is sat on the chimney. With around 40 pounds per square inch showing on the gauge, it's time to remove the electric blower and open the valve on the steam blower, which is on the turret. And what the steam blower does is let some steam through the hollow stay, which is a long tube that runs through the boiler, to the blower pipe or blower ring, which is in the smoke box, and this directs a jet of steam up the chimney, which draws the fire. All very clever. What I'm doing here is opening the regulator fairly quickly to let a big blast of steam, although it's very low pressure, into the cylinders. And no, it's just blowing up the chimney, so the water level's dropping and it's time to get rid of the fire. And as you can see here, because of the lack of any draft going up the chimney, the fire's gone out anyway. So it's a really good idea on the first steam test of an engine, whether it be a stationary engine or a locomotive, not to aim for a massive fire, because this went out quickly. Had the fire been a raging inferno with so little water now in the gauge glass, that would have been a problem. Back in the workshop now, and this is the blower ring. You can clearly see in this clip the 3 holes in the pipe where the jets of steam come from. And these 3 small holes were fully blocked. All I did to clear it was heat up the entire assembly with the blowtorch, and that cleared the holes. So, I wonder why it got blocked up. This is getting to be a bit of a puzzle. And why won't the engine go? It runs perfectly well under compressed air, it runs very well indeed. And it runs up and down the bench very freely, as you can see here. I think I know what the problem is. As this engine doesn't have a blowdown valve, and furthermore it's been stood idle for maybe 20 years or more, my guess is that there's quite a lot of residue in the boiler, and it's sat there for quite a few years. That is, until I filled the boiler with water and left it for a few days. So once I started to boil the water, all of this residue must have been sat on top of the water, so as soon as I turned the blower valve, the steam, complete with this residue, because the boiler is priming and it's like a bit of a water spout, went down the pipe and blocked up the blower. Similarly, as I opened the regulator, the steam with badly contaminated water entered the steam chests, and this boiler residue got underneath the slide valves on their seats, which in turn allowed the steam to go straight to the exhaust. I have seen this before, it's fairly common. The clue was in what was happening when the steam went up the chimney. It wasn't just steam that went up the chimney, it was water, which showed me that the boiler was priming very badly, which is usually due to contamination in the water. So how did I fix it? Well, I ran the engine up and down the bench by hand quite a lot of times. Then I connected a compressed air supply to the engine and ran the engine up and down the bench quite a lot of times. And very slowly some power started to develop, and then all of a sudden the engine had full power and nearly ran off the bench. So once I got this full power back, I put it on the rolling road, and here it is running. And it's running well. What I intend to do is to fit a blowdown valve. A test run of a 4-inch scale Garrett Showman's engine. This is the live steam test of a Stuart Models 5A steam engine. And finally, a gas-fired live steam test of a Great Western Railway 14XX locomotive. And that is it for this episode of Model Steam Engine Live Steam Tests. All that remains is for me to say stay safe, stay healthy, thanks for watching, and I hope you found it useful, or at least interesting. Please take the time to visit my Main Steam Models website and click on the section of the website that says Video Playlists. And by doing that, you can find other videos that you may like to watch. And by using the playlists, you can actually watch the videos back to back.